Good morning and welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with Mr. G. It is Friday, January 29th, the feast day of Saint Gildas the Wise. The Wise. So he must, I think he had asked God for anything. No, Solomon. That wasn't the thing. Solomon in the Old Testament asked God for anything and he wanted wisdom. Something that we all could get more of. And I read in a book somewhere recently that it's a it's a tragedy that the modern day kid, a typical kid, primarily it was along the guise of manlyhood, I guess, of how many young boys are growing up without grandfathers because their dads aren't in their lives, and then their grandfathers aren't in their lives, so they're not able to find people to embark wisdom on them for a positive influence, and that's part of the issue with the youth of America. So, um, yeah, that just came to mind, I guess, right here on the spot. So we got wisdom, which is what we can all grow more in, and which is what philosophy is really, which is what we learn here at seminary. As philosophy means lover of wisdom is what a philosopher is. Anyway, back to Saint Gildas the Wise. He was a 6th century British monk, and he is the patron saint of Welsh historians and bell founders. So today's gospel, as we move forward, is from Mark chapter 4, verses 26 through 34. Let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen. He said, This is how it is with the kingdom of God. It is as if a man were to scatter seed on the land, and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He knows not how. Of its own accord the land yields fruit, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear. And when the grain is ripe, he wills the sickle at once, for the harvest has come. The mustard seed. He said, To what shall we compare the kingdom of God, or what parable can we use for it? It is like a mustard seed that, when it is sown in the ground, is the smallest of all the seeds on the earth. But once it is sown, it springs up and becomes the largest of plants and puts forth large branches, so that the birds of the sky can dwell in its shade. With many such parables he spoke the word to them, as they were able to understand it. Without parables he did not speak to them, but to his own disciples he explained everything in private. Okay, so we got parables, the mustard seed, growth. And it's interesting that last line, without parables he did not speak to them, to common folk. But to his own disciples he explained everything in private. Kind of challenging the disciples that it's your job to, I'll teach you directly, then you go and scatter and teach them. So yeah, that's as we talk about this whole, seed grows of itself, of just like how to grow, you need nurtured. Like you plant a seed, no matter how small any seed is whenever you first plant it. And then you just got to nurture it. You got to water it. You got to make sure it gets sunlight. You got to, keep the weeds out. You got to do this and that and the other so that it can grow. And that's the same thing that we need to do with ourselves in order for us to grow spiritually or professionally or physically or any sort of lead there is emotionally. We need to work on it, and we need to give it the proper nutrients to grow. So whether that be through prayer, through study, through conversations, through spiritual direction, just more activity, more discipline, goal-oriented, whatever it might be. We all need to be able to put forth the ingredients that it takes to grow. Otherwise, we can't expect growth. And then whenever it comes to that, we need to recognize our own progress. Because how easy is it for us to notice progress or regress, I guess, for other people. And other people can see it in us, but we have such a hard time noticing progress for ourselves. We kind of don't realize that we are making a difference, or we don't realize this, that, or the other. As I kind of go off on a side tangent here, it kind of reminds me of A Wonderful Life. If you ever seen that 1947 Christmas movie with George Bailey, where he, had his angel and he was supposedly died, or it was as if he never existed, and what kind of impact he had on the world, all unbeknownst to himself. And that's the same thing it is with us. Like, we don't realize how big of an impact that we leave on people because it's just hard for us to understand. Um, so that's a great movie to watch in that regard of noticing, of just trusting God and believing that that you are leaving a much bigger impact on the world than what we give ourselves credit for. So all that coming together to try to challenge us today on this Friday is to try to put forth a more concerted effort to recognize the progress that you yourself have been making, and how big of an impact you do have on people. So, with that being said, have a great Friday. Start to your weekend. God bless. Keep it real. In the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen.